Chapter 2. Wedge Antilles shook hands with both of the pilots standing in his office. Sorry to keep you waiting, but we apparently have had another probe of the system by Imperial forces. The imps didn't make much of a fight of it, but we almost scrambled the rest of the squadron. He walked around to his side of the transparent steel top desk, then waved to the two of them to chairs. Welcome to Rogue Squadron. Both pilots smiled and thanked him. Wedge looked first at the Celestan female. Captain Nunnab, I hope you do not think the fact that you were not selected to join Rogue Squadron 6 months ago reflects in any way a lack of respect for your skills as a pilot. Errol Nunnab shook her head, the slender plait of brown hair lashing one shoulder and another. I harbored no such thought, Commander. But you were aware that I chose Captain Tycho Selchu to be my executive officer, not you? A red-purple light flashed in her big garnet eyes. Rumors to that effect were easily heard, but more easily ignored, sir. Wedge smiled. Frank and practical. This I like. Those rumors were true, Captain. My reasons were... Excuse me, sir, but you have no need to explain yourself to me. I think you will find, both of you, that Rogue Squadron is full of very good pilots. Our discipline is a bit more lax than in other units, and I tend to explain orders when I can because we rely on each other very heavily. No one shirks duty here, no matter how dangerous. I think it's important that every member of the squadron know where he or she stands. The mouse-eared Celestan nodded her head. Yes, sir. I've heard stories about you and your brother, especially concerning your exploits on behalf of the Alliance in stealing supplies from Sorosub Corporation and turning them over to us. I saw firsthand how well your brother flies when he piloted the Millennium Falcon into the second Death Star and enabled Lando and me to blow the reactor and control structures. I saw then, and later in reviewing your performance tests, that the both of you have a native ability in a fighter that wasn't learned and can't be taught. Since the rebuilding of Rogue Squadron involved training pilots to higher and higher levels of efficiency, I didn't think you were well suited to a role with us in such a training period. I understand, sir. What she left unsaid told Wedge that she understood a lot more about the situation in the galaxy than she cared to mention. Rogue Squadron had lost 4 pilots, a full third of its strength, in the last 6 months. Under normal circumstances, new pilots would be brought in and trained up to the squadron's level of efficiency, but such training required time. Events in the galaxy did not give the New Republic's forces much in the way of time, so the replacement pilots were being drawn from the best available candidates who expressed an interest in joining the unit. Wedge turned to the red-headed man seated next to the Celestan. I was surprised, Captain Kraken, to see your name appear on a list of candidates willing to replace pilots in Rogue Squadron. You got your own flight group out on the rim, and you're used to flying an A-wing, not an X-wing. Won't you find us a bit slow for your tastes? I hope not, sir. Pash Kraken frowned slightly. Wedge thought for a moment that the question had irritated the young pilot, but the reply had come in a voice that maintained its emotional neutrality. Kraken was the son of General Aaron Kraken, one of the Alliance's legendary leaders, and the New Republic's answers to Yasan Isard. Aaron Kraken had fabricated an identity for his son that allowed Pash to enter the Imperial Naval Academy. On his first assignment after graduation, Pash led his entire TIE wing in defecting to the Alliance. They became known as Kraken's Flight Group, and their killing of a Victory-class Star Destroyer had made them and their leader legendary as well. If you don't mind my asking, why do you want to leave your people behind to join us? Kraken's frown deepened, and he shifted uneasily in his chair. It's kind of hard to explain, sir. But your reasons must be strong, and because you'll have to take a reduction in rank to lieutenant to join us. I know that, sir. Wedge opened his hands. You may share as little as you want with the others in the squadron, Mr. Kraken, but I really do need to know why you want to be a rogue. Errol Nunnab leaned forward in her chair. Perhaps if I were to leave, sir. Pash shook his head. No, that's not necessary. Breath hissed in through clenched teeth. This is going to sound odd. Perhaps, but we won't know until you get it out. Yes, sir. Pash sighed. Pretty early on, because of time I spent fooling around with old Z-95 headhunter simulators, my father realized I had a bit of a talent for flying. He encouraged my interest in flying and made all sorts of opportunities available for me to use simulators and then real starfighters. I soloed before I hit puberty, and simulator battles had me beating some fairly good pilots. I knew I was good, but I didn't know how good because I thought people praised my skill to get in good with my father. When I went to the academy, I got a handle on how good I was. I was better than most of my instructors when I started, and by the time I graduated, none of them could touch me. We were flying TIE starfighters, and my squadrons weren't losing a single pilot. I graduated right up near the top of the class, and the guys who finished ahead of me were the guys in my squadron that I'd forced to leave the simulators and work on their academic studies. Kraken's hand curled into fists. A strain entered his voice. When we defected, when we killed the exsanguinator, all my people followed my lead, and most of us survived. Attrition has worn the unit down. That's why we're now part of Commander Varth's wing. But the people that have been with me all the way think that I lead some sort of charmed life. They think I won't fail them, that I can't be beaten. Those who have died along the way are accused of having done the wrong thing at the wrong time, and in some cases they're right. But I have sent people to their deaths. The new kids coming into the squadron are inculcated into this myth of invincibility. My pilots are getting careless, and that's going to get them killed. I know that happens, but because of the legend they built me up into, I can't get my people to listen to me or do the things I need them to do. If I stay there and some imp outguesses me, everyone will follow me down in flames. Wedge sat back and nodded slowly. Rogue Squadron's unit roster had a lot of names on it, and save for a Jedi Knight, a couple of pilots assigned to training squadrons, and a few pilots who had left for other pursuits, anyone who wasn't active duty was dead. Biggs Darklighter, Jet Porkins, Dak Ralter, and Bror Jace were all among the most talented and famous pilots the Empire had killed, but Wedge could attach faces to all the names on the roster, and knew the details of how each of them had died. That they had perished under his command did overwhelm him at times, so he found it very easy to understand Pash Kraken's dilemma. I would say, Lieutenant, that a change is due for you. Your unit will have to reassess how it operates in your absence, and that will certainly be a good turn of events. Wedge tried to read Kraken's expression, but he could not. It strikes me, however, that there are plenty of other fighter units in the Alliance that would welcome a pilot of your skill, and most of them are A-Wing units. Yes, sir, true, but they're not Rogue Squadron. Why is it that important that you join Rogue Squadron? Kraken's shoulders slackened slightly. Not so much that Wedge would have said that he slumped in his chair, but Kraken had clearly decided he would withhold nothing from his answer. Any other unit would put me in command, and that would solve nothing. You see, because of my previous situation, I no longer have a perspective on how well I fly. I'm beginning to question myself and my performance, and that means I'm a hair's breadth from doubting myself. If I've lost something, I need to know it. I'm not flying as well as I can, but if I lose my confidence, I lose everything. Here in Rogue Squadron, I'll be measuring myself against the best our side has to offer. Wedge pressed his hands together, fingertip to fingertip. What does your father think of this change? Kraken's face slackened for a moment, then fire flared in his green eyes. My father had nothing to do with this decision. But you have spoken to him about it? Yes. And he approved. Kraken's head came up. He has nothing but the utmost of respect for you, Commander Antilles. That's good to know. Wedge frowned, drawing brown brows together to hood brown eyes. The conquest of the Pyria system had required two operations because Alliance intelligence had failed to uncover some information about the Imperial installations on Borlius. The idea of Imperial operatives or traitors having set the rebels up for their first defeat could not be ignored, and any investigations of such allegations would fall to General Kraken and his people. While Wedge had absolutely no reservations about any of his people, his trust was not shared by others in the Alliance. General Sam, the leader of Defender Wing, had long been suspicious of Captain Tycho Selchu. While Sam had admitted to Wedge that he knew Tycho had not leaked information concerning the First Pyria assault to the Empire, he believed Tycho was an Imperial agent who would betray the Alliance at the worst possible moment. The conquest of the Pyria system had opened the way for the Rebel Alliance to strike at Coruscant, the Imperial homeworld. Taking Coruscant would confer upon the New Republic a legitimacy it had not yet earned in the eyes of much of the Empire's citizenry. Those who were aware of the state of the Empire could find little to differentiate the rebels from the Imperial warlords who were carving their own little realm out of the Empire. Though they may not believe assurances from Coruscant that the threat presented by the Alliance or people like Warlord Zinj was minor, they did not yet see the Empire as a cadaver waiting for scavengers to carve it up. Coruscant was the key to establishing the New Republic as the new ruling force in the galaxy. Taking it was a bold step, a serious gamble that required thousands of factors to fall into place to win. Since Admiral Akbar had ordered Wedge to attend the Provisional Council's deliberations on the project, he knew Rogue Squadron would be heavily involved in the campaign. Aaron Kraken had to be aware of that eventuality, too. In his place, I'd consider planting an agent in Rogue Squadron to watch for any suspicious activity. But would I use my own son? Wedge looked at the younger Kraken for a moment and read disappointment on his face, not outrage or wounded pride. I'd be angry and indignant, fighting the implication of being a spy with an appeal to honor. Pash is not. Is he innocent? Or just very much his father's son? The Corellian leader of Rogue Squadron sat forward and rested his forearms on the desktop. Trust is the key to this unit, but that doesn't mean you have to tell your fellow pilots your deepest, darkest secrets. The people here are the best, and I'm sure you'll both fit in. Again, welcome to the unit. Thank you, sir. Wedge handed each of them a small strip of plastic. The facilities here are a bit more comfortable than we've been used to. Avir Deracote ran this operation until we took it away from the Empire. He was devoted to a certain level of creature comfort. Captain Nunab, you'll have your own quarters. Lieutenant Kraken, you will share a room with Nawara Ven, a Twi'lek pilot. I think you'll like him. Pash took the strips and handed one to Errol. Wedge glanced at his datapad, then frowned sharply. I've only got an hour until I have to fly out to rendezvous with Home 1. I'll be taking our Lambda-class shuttle since I'll be bringing General Sam with me. Lieutenant Kraken, you may use my X-Wing for the time being. We should have one of the others up and repaired inside a week for you. Captain Nunab, I'll introduce you to Captain Selchu. Because of his status, you'll actually be in command of the unit in my absence. Tycho will help you with anything you need. He stood up. Is there anything else we need to discuss? The Celestan shook her head. No, sir. Wedge looked at Pash. Anything? No, sir. And if I see your father at the meeting? Pash smiled. Just tell him he was right about the grithing he said you'd give me, and let him know I passed. It'll be my pleasure, Lieutenant. Wedge kept a smile on his face as he led them to the door. I think you both will find the trials of being a rogue a bit more difficult than any of the interrogation I'll give you. But I have no doubt, being as how you are rogues, you'll survive and then some. That's the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.